Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge. Our special guest tonight is Lieutenant General retired Asad Durrani, an outspoken security and defense analyst and an influential commentator on regional and international affairs. General Durani has held key positions in Pakistan Army, including Director General Inter-Services Intelligence. After his retirement from the Army, General Durani was appointed as Pakistan's ambassador to Germany and later on to Saudi Arabia. After his stint in the government, General Durani has been taking part in conferences both at home and abroad. He has been also on a number of track tours on regional affairs. He is a prolific writer and has authored 2 books, Pakistan Adrift and Honor Among Spies, and has co-authored a third, The Spy Chronicles, with a former RAW chief. Sir, welcome to the Ambassador's Lounge.
It's a privilege being here.
Ladies and gentlemen, and the co-host for today's program is Ambassador Riaz Bukhari. The question is, are we witnessing the collapse of old Middle East order? US and Israel are relentless in their strikes, in their attacks, and they are targeting civil, military and strategic sites within Iran. But they're also targeting civilian infrastructure, including residential buildings, hospitals, schools, business complexes, oil refineries, power centers. The effort is to crush the Iranian economy and also to demoralize a nation, the Iranian nation. But in the process, they are also risking the lives of millions of Iranians. Washington and Tel Aviv insist that the purpose of these attacks is to weaken militarily Iran. It is to destroy its nuclear facilities. It is to destroy its capability to produce missiles. And it is to remove the Iranian threat for the regional countries. But the battlefield is no longer confined to Iran only. It is spreading to the region as Iran targets Gulf states, American assets, American bases there. Within Iran, Mujtaba Khamenei has emerged as the country's new supreme leader after the slaying of his father Ali Khamenei. History shows that leadership change during the war, it hardens the position rather than softening it. The new leader is already showing an uncompromising tone. The stakes were further risen when Iran decided to close Strait of Hormuz, from where 20 to 30% of world oil passes. And it has sent the global prices soaring. Now, tonight we move to ask our guest, is this the beginning of new and far more dangerous phase in the Middle East geopolitics? Will the conflict redraw the strategic map of the region? Sir, my first question before we come to the crux is, what sort of threat did Iran pose to the US and to its allies, which merited such devastation and destruction of Iran?
If you permit me, just a couple of sentences to start with. When I was first introduced to the new regime, post-revolution Iran, and that was when I was heading the ISI, we took our Afghans there on their invitation because they also had an Afghan group. The conference did not produce very much, but the Iranians did teach us a few things. Even if they don't have many cards, they can play what you diplomats call hardball. I mean, it was frustrating on our part. Their Afghans had made no contribution to the resistance against the Soviets who had been thrown out, but they insisted that they would also get the same status as ours, the famous Mujahideen group, the Magnificent Seven. And so we agreed, because the idea was to somehow find the cooperation from them to resolve this imbroglio. And then, with no resources at all to influence things within, they asked us, now, post-Soviet Afghanistan must be tailored, must be so structured that it is like the besieged force and like the pro-revolution. There was no chance that should be done. But their attitude was, just maybe it was their way of saying that impressed us, that these people will ultimately get what they want, but they will start from a very extreme position. Their president at that time, Rafsanjani, a remarkably enlightened man, we went to him and he said in his own words, something that again was very profound. He said, we should make use of this opportunity. He was addressing the Pakistani and the Afghans, a favorable opportunity for which you people, he didn't say that, probably have not contributed. He says, don't think that because of you the Soviet Union has collapsed. So this is how one started, and one said, now these are the people who know, not only because of the old history and so on, they have come to certain conclusion and they will form their policies meticulously and implement them. Not that it would always succeed, because after all, right now, the scale is so heavily tilted against one country, against the superpower, the sole superpower, the mightiest, with Israel, and with the rest of the world lining behind, or rest of the West lining behind them. Enough collaborators from within the region. Now, this is the scenario in which they have to now operate. The first thing as a military man that struck me was, like the Afghans with whom one had dealt for a long time, they have been able to assert or tailor the nature of war according to their requirement. Afghans did not fight conventionally. Naturally, they did not. They did not have to. They had no wherewithal. But the so-called asymmetric or guerrilla warfare that it may go on for years, decades, etc., but ultimately it exhausts the superpowers, three, turn by turn. Every century, one of them, British, then the Soviets, and then the Americans. Just, you have to, as the Christian said, you have to survive that, and then that means you win. Now, that seems to be the tactics that they have involved, or the doctrine, they call it drone doctrine, but they have evolved, in which they may or may not win ultimately, because it's too early to say, because the resources are there are other, things that count. But so far, the results seem to be very favorable to them. And it is not because you simply go ahead and wage that war. You do it methodologically. You send probing flights, find out where the air defenses are, try and map there. Then you carry out certain actions or certain, operations against them, send missiles against them, neutralize them, saturate the air defenses before, And that is how you like to survive, and you have to prolong till whatever result comes out, one will have to find out. In this particular case, one may think that they are spreading the theater of war by targeting certain other Gulf countries, and that may create some problem for them. But if the air defenses there, because there are bases there, if they can be neutralized, if the people can also there ultimately come to a conclusion that extra-regional presence would create problems, like it did once. After the first Gulf War in 91, that was the realization. In at least Saudi Arabia, where I had served for 2 years, 2002, and they said, unless we patch up within, Americans will come and, play either Iraq or Kuwait or some other factor. Now, if that be the aim, and if this is the strategy that they can implement, then there is a chance that, as you put it, that we might see another scenario. It's not likely to be a new Middle East. The Middle East will remain, but the power configuration might get affected to the extent that they want.
So, do you think, just staying with this, do you think that the reasons which Mr. Trump has given, the reason which Israelis have given for this attack, do you think those reasons are justified?
No, I mean, they don't have, you see, the power itself justifies its use. You go ahead, do that, people can later on go to the court, raise outside of you. I mean, Gaza in 2.5 years, haven't we seen how it was played? Everyone, United Nations and the International Criminal Court, even the world conscious, the so-called communities everywhere, especially in the West, protesting, didn't make an iota of difference as far as the action on the ground were concerned. And those actions on the ground, if some relief was provided again, like it or not, it happened to be Mr. Trump. Not because he was the American president, because the American presidents earlier failed to even prevent Israel from expanding its establishment. So strong is the Israeli hold on American decision making. Oh, we know that. You people know it much better than that. So that means that no reason was required except that ultimately this is one country that must be taken out from their point of view. If it's not the last country standing, but it's a very, very tough, but still standing.
Sir, almost 2 weeks into war now, Israel and US against Iran. And US has started calling for Iranian surrender. Trump describes Iranian surrender when, according to him, Iran no longer poses threat to US and Israel. Even last Monday, he said that we will be there over pretty quickly. And he said that I think this idea is very complete with nothing left in the military sense. What do you think about the US strategy to exit from this war?
It's a very good question, frankly. Ambassador, you'll have to forgive an old soldier who does not get impressed by rhetoric at all.
Okay.
The louder people will shout. I think the weaker is their position. And that is to cover up that they, up the volume to show that they have the confidence, to show that they are going to do this, that, or the other. We put the whole thing in headlines. We sometimes even say, if this is what it is saying, something is going to happen. By now, the major challenge to our strategic thinkers is to see how much is the semantics worth.
Okay.
Is it a substitute for actual policy? Is it to overawe the others? Talking about those conferences that were done, I think about 10, 15 years ago, again, it was before the, nuclear deal was struck between America and Iran, 2 years before. So there was again rhetoric going on, and I was attending a conference in Moscow. And there, one could not resist but making a point that, look, this is psychological warfare that is being raised, except for one. And that is sometimes, the rhetorics itself attains a dynamics and can lead to a war that no one wants because of this. Or like in military terms, if you assemble forces, then that creates its own effect. Now, on this particular point, so far, since it comes from Trump, who has an unbroken record of going back.
Yeah.
He makes a pitch, and after that, after some time, if he changes, without blinking an eyelash, he can change that. Then one thinks that what is it that we are? But we still want to do, we still won't take it seriously because he happens to be a very powerful man. In this particular case, initially, I thought they would not attack because it is so many people were advising not to do that because of all the dangers that can come, energy and Gulf and Hormuz and so on and so forth. If he still did, then I do not know the actual reason. Was his hands forced by Israel, or he was trapped there in that particular case? I do not. But it happened. And now I believe after 2 weeks, they must be thinking of somehow or other I think finding an escape route, they call it off-ramp or whatever, escape route, save face, and get out. How to do that? He might be able to find one, except that I think Israel is not likely to provide that to him. So that's the challenge that Trump has now, right now.
So in fact, Donald Trump is talking, or it's possible that he may fake surrender. And he went on to say there's nothing left to target.
Yeah.
Anytime I want to end it, I will end it.
Yes.
And within US, their analysts are describing his policy as incoherent and incomplete. Anyway, sir, my next question is, Iran under Ali Khamenei exercised restraint and patience. The late Khamenei, he issued fatwa against nuclear weapon production. He signed nuclear deal, JCPOA. And then he allowed IAEA inspectors inside Iran, which Israel does not allow. And then, despite Trump abandoning the nuclear deal, and despite his maximum pressure, which he applied on Iran, Iran did not go for weapon-grade enrichment. And now when Trump 2 comes, Iran again went for talks. Now all this failed, all this diplomacy failed to prevent this attack. Now under Mujtaba Khamenei, do you think the new administration will reconsider nuclear option? After all, what good is diplomacy if it can't prevent the attack?
I agree. Again, you will have to contend with a very unconventional reprise that I can give. Our nuclear program was ready. Even, that screwdriver wave was not there well before the pressure came on us after the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan. They said, freeze, roll back, destroy, etc., etc. That's up the demand after the Soviets were out on us, on nuclear. A couple other things, but on nuclear. Our thing had already been completed 2 years before that. Cold tests were done, and the other one naturally could not have been done because of other reasons. So our response was, no, this is our existential problem. We are not going to roll back. We are not going to cap. Nothing. And one day, Ghulam Isar Khan, I think he is the man who knew how to play this thing. And we all agreed, civil and military, that nuclear would be dealt with the president, because he had 50 plus years in the corridors of power. He knew how to do it. And he was playing this card, this cat and mouse with the Americans. No, we will not do it. And one day he says, since we are such old friends, what I can do is that I think we can cap the program. Oh, and Mr. President, how grateful, thank you very much. Everything had been done 2 years back. If the Iranians, if I keep learning about Iran from your colleague Asad Durrani, and he has taught me very many things, not only about Iran and also in Afghanistan, and he once said that the Iranians have plenty of patience. And I think the Iranians also, besides patience, have plenty of depth. I wouldn't be surprised, not that I know anything, that they already have a couple of usable devices. So this is for them important to have this capability, screwdriver away or already screwed up or screwed tightened, I do not know. But this ability, the very perception that people will have that they might have one, that means that it serves the purpose. Now, we'll come to nuclear later on after your question.
Being a military man, what is your assessment? Do you think Iran made a mistake? They had a lot of opportunities in between. They should have gone nuclear?
No, as far as my thinking is concerned, I said that it's most probably already there.
Okay.
Already there. Under these circumstances, anyone will sit back and say, we'll wait till the elections are frustrated, something else will happen, and Israel breathing down our neck, and America with Trump, etc. And if anyone was waiting for those things to leave, and after that said, here was our nuclear program, we go back to the original enrichment of 30-40%, that would not make sense to someone like me. If you are thinking ahead, you've done enough, you either have the devices or you have the devices ready very soon. Because now there is another aspect of the whole thing. Suppose it seems to me that the Iranians are having the better of the exchanges in certain areas, and if they are, would Israel not get frustrated with that? Because for them it is existential.
Yeah.
Not for America. America would like to get out, but for them it is if they do not. You see, if left to their own devices, the Israelis, poor chaps, as we found out last year also in those 12 days, they could be flattened by Iran. McGregor said 24 hours, 48 hours, it can be. So for them, if that is so important, in frustration, and that is where that famous book, the writer is a Jew, but he also told me that he's not a Zionist, but an excellent, otherwise, scholar, Seymour Hersh. He wrote Samson's Option about 30 years ago. And Samson's Option is about this, for Israel to have a device in which they can, after me the deluge, as they say, carry out this thing, and after that, doesn't really matter whether they exist or not. They have been so many times thrown out, and then they will try and resurrect somewhere else. But in this particular case, the employment of nuclear from the Israelis, not from the Iranians, from the Israelis, seem more likely at some stage if it continues like that. It's not only it's a warning, all right, but it's also a realistic assessment as far as I'm concerned. It's not only mine. There are others there in the United States, in Russia, and China, who are thinking about, but if it happens, then what? How best to preempt it? And if it happens, then what do we do? So that means the nuclear is so vague and so unclear, and it is a psychological weapon essentially, but in frustration someone can use it, Samson's Option, you bring down the temple, you're gone, but along with that, so much else gone. So this is that type of a weapon. And if that type of a weapon Iran has not developed so far, that would have been.
Yes.
Sir, Iran has been under sanction for the last 47 years now. And the two aggressions committed against Iran in a short span of 600 to 8 months. It has really, I will not say crippled, but affected the economy and the military strength of the country. How do you see the survival of the current regime once the war is over, especially the economic expectations of the common man?
Not my area of expertise, Ambassador. They have war, but one is the resilience that we all talk about. The other is that depending on how the war ends, there would be plenty of others too, not only Pakistan, but in the Gulf, but certainly China and Russia. These two big players. For them, it's more important to have a viable Iran.
Okay.
Because in that particular game, the new great game that we call it, is one of the very important players is Iran. Pivotal, if you ask me.
Yeah.
More than Afghanistan, more than Pakistan, Iran is the one where it is located. So how much they will subsidize their economy? But I'm quite sure, knowing a couple of countries in the West, their conduct has been very disappointing in the last 2 or 3 years. But they are also quite capable of coming back after that, and because of that old stake in them and old relationship in them, they might do that. But essentially, well, let's say we are not thinking of what might otherwise happen. Iranis themselves, they've been there before. They've had a tough time. 8 years of war against Iraq at that time. Wasn't a very easy period. And I do not know how they were surviving, but they did that. But that is a fact that I may not know exactly what will happen, how it will unravel, how it will roll out. Except that we all need that. Gulf, the Hormuz has to be reopened. The energy resources will have to come up. Something will happen which could help them if the war is ended on a positive note.
Okay.
So,
for Iran.
What generally people think is that just before the war, there were demonstrations, the dollar demonstrations or currency demonstrations, and that really divided the country. number of thousands of people lost their lives, they were killed, whatever. Now, when this attack happened, apparently it jolted the nation.
Yeah.
Because of anti-Iran slogans by the Americans and the Israelis, they tried to provoke the people, Iranians, to action, but they did not. So they joined their government. Now, once this war is over and reality, Americans are gone, the economic reality will surely dawn upon the people.
I agree.
Will the society then also be as gelled, as united as it is now? Will the nationalistic fervor still be there, or realities would take place?
It will certainly go through a change. That threat is gone.
Would that threaten the regime then?
You see, again, the parallel with Afghanistan, they also have a habit of, sidelining their differences, because otherwise the tribes keep fighting with each other. In face of foreign threat, Soviets and then later on American, tribesmen at least came together, and plenty of others too. Some collaborate always, but the others do come together. And once it is over, witness to the post-Soviet era, oh my God, it became quite a mess to handle. So there they were not trying to, continue to keep that so-called unity of the AIG, the 7 parties. They started fighting with each other immediately. So instead of saying that it was an Afghan-Arab government, we used to say these are 7 governments waiting to be installed in Kabul. Similarly here, there will be different power centers, different interests. I think this type of unity you will not see. There will be another process that will set the ball rolling.
Now, sir, there is a lot of talk. Mr. Trump has a lot of pressure. There's domestic pressure. He would like to, as Riaz was also talking about, an exit strategy. He would like to come out of this situation. He reportedly has talked to, in fact, called Mr. Putin, asked him for his intervention. He has reportedly also talked to regional leaders. What possible ceasefire scenarios do you envisage?
Left to
this is a military.
Left to the Americans alone, they will find someone. But again, there is that unknown factor. How much the Israelis will be able to sabotage or scuttle their effort. They also have many people within the government going or rooting for them. How much they can do that, I do not know about that. But we'll see. If Trump, this is something that can be given to a maverick like Trump. If he decides that I'm going to do it, he probably will have his way. Especially after these 2 or 3 or another couple of weeks, people would find out that the best option is to find a way out, to at least to diffuse the crisis. In the meantime, it may not be my area of expertise, but the fact that the economies are being affected everywhere, people would like, the Gulf people want something to get back. Europe already, because of Ukraine, I think they had a separate problem. Now maybe they will also try and find the so-called exit strategy. It's a...
Sir, post-conflict scenario, how do you see the regional security, architecture coming up once a ceasefire is there? Do you see new structures coming up, or do you see nuclear proliferation is on the way in the region?
Our past record, generally, of the area and generally of the third world is pretty poor. We do not come together very easily. There's a famous, the historian husband and wife team, Durani, Will and Ariel Durans. About 100 years ago, they talked about these things and said, West organizes, East dithers. That we have seen always. We don't get to our right square there. Right now, we have a problem in the Middle East, but we are not shedding our, other differences, either Indo-Pak or AFPAC or anything else. How are we going to, at that time now, say that let's do something else? If something happened, I'm very ashamed to say it will happen not because of us, but because, the big brothers, the new big brother, China, will probably bang a few heads together. He already once brought the Saudis and the Iranians together, which was a miracle, if you ask me. But if that happened, there may be a new architecture. If Iran comes out looking better, I suppose it will lead to some people joining them, but the rivalry also that people have, sectarian rivalry.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible. Sometimes I find that they were more, decisive than the other ones. That means that not everyone is going to get onto the new bandwagon. So, track record is back. We are not very good at, making alliances. We don't even keep group together while performing Hajj. When I was doing this staff course in Hamburg, that was 1975, 76.
Oh.
The only people who made carpools to go together and come back together from the academy were the Germans or the Swiss, the two well-off countries. All of us from the third world, we had our own cars or we had our own arrangements. We didn't want to make a carpool. We don't want to come together. That is our, that's our nature, individuals. We are individuals.
We are fast running out of time. One question, there are a number of issues which we would have wanted to discuss, but did Pakistan expect to be in such a situation as it is today? Why has Mr. Shehbaz Sharif gone to Saudi Arabia?
I think this is a circus that we have been playing for quite some time. Going here, appealing there, sending tweets and so on. On substantial front, I don't think there is any contribution that we have made which is beyond rhetoric. So that is what happens usually. Whenever such instances come, people start moving, meeting people, going to certain other things. That's been the usual, reel that we have played and replayed. Ability to again do something more than that has been pathetic, and that is why I better not go beyond that. Otherwise, we will end on a very pessimistic note.
Sir, very simple question.
Yeah.
How do you see the presence of US bases in the GCC countries and Iran targeting them?
Good. You need to have that courage. If you are fighting such a such, you need to have courage to target them. Otherwise, you can also check it out and say, no, we will not do it. Getting these bases away would now be also supposed to, might also be the desire of the country, the host countries. Presence, foreign presence, anywhere is asking for trouble. It has never contributed to the security of that place. They get threatened, they have the illusion of security. Leave aside the Gulf. Japanese, Koreans, they have not been very comfortable for presence. Western Europe. I know a little bit about Germany. They never talked about the Western's presence there in a favorable term. They said, well, if they went away, this would be much better. What is it that they could do there they're making us more vulnerable to a future Soviet or some other threat. But providing security, no. This used to be, something, a feeling simmering below the surface. We don't think that is very good for us. We can look after or we can do something else, and we do not have to, provoke any outsider because of the bases. But the bases generally have not led to the security of any place. We also had one a couple of times, remember?
In the past.
The Peshawar base.
Yeah.
And after that, the red dot, the cross line.
So do you think, Iranian claim that these bases, the foreign bases in GCC countries, are these legitimate target of Iranian drones and missiles?
Legitimacy in this case, one can say yes, but even otherwise I would have said they should go ahead, and because after all they're fighting the Americans, but they are certainly legitimate targets. If you are fighting and they didn't start the war, they were attacked, and after that, in response, if they attack any American bases, the lawyers can go ahead and decide if it is legitimate or not. For me, it's a very legitimate wartime target.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, it was an interesting discussion with General Durani, and tonight's discussion shows how complex and dangerous the conflict has become. What began as US and Israeli strikes on Iran meant to weaken Iran militarily and to pressurize Iran to accept the terms and conditions for peace and for ceasefire, and also to assert, or rather reassert, the US authority in the region. But it has become far more unpredictable. President Trump entered the war at the egging of Bibi Netanyahu, and they thought that they believed that escalation was within their control, and that in 4 to 5 days Iran would be on its knees. That has not happened. Iran is reacting, is retaliating with great strength. Now, within Iran, the new leader, Mr. Mujtaba Khamenei, he's signaling he's sending or emitting defiant signals. Mr. Masoud Pezeshkian, the president, has said that has asked for war reparations. Now, the search for a way out has gone global. Apparently, reportedly, Mr. Trump has called Mr. Putin. He has talked to the regional leaders. He wants to find a diplomatic solution to this problem. So what happens next? A ceasefire could emerge if both sides step back without appearing to surrender. Victory in that case would largely be a story. Americans will Mr. Trump will tell the people, his own public, that Americans have achieved their objectives, that Iran has been weakened militarily, and that deterrence has been established. The Iranian government will go and tell its people that, well, we forced the Americans and the Israelis to ceasefire, and we have emerged victorious. Other alternative could be an escalation, in which case there can be no winners, only losers. Thank you for watching Ambassador's Lounge. Please subscribe to our channel, and we'll be back.